Welcome to another episode of Everything Intellectual Property. Today, we have a very special guest with us. This gentleman is one head of the two-headed monster that has created healthy seasoning line for you to use in a number of foods. Please help me welcome the COO of Jada Brands, Maynard Okereke. How's it going?
Going great, my man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, for sure. And I appreciate you. I know it's still early over there on the West Coast, so I appreciate you kind of giving me
Hey,
some time
it's
here in
all
the
it's
morning
all
time.
good. I'm in dad life mode now, so there's no
Oh
more
yeah.
early, no more late mornings for me.
Hey, yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I definitely remember those days. Well, I guess I'm still going through them, but it's I guess I'm getting some sleep, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
Uh,
How
well,
old? How old are your kids?
6 years old, six.
Okay, nice, nice. I
So
have
man, but
18. I have an 18-month-old.
oh yeah, so you're
Yeah,
still in the
so
beginning
we
stages of
we in, we in
things.
the thick of
But I
it.
would imagine that you're still getting in a little bit more sleep. I remember it was rough. Look it up, man. I love my daughter, but just man, that was one of the things that I really disliked in life in terms of having to wake up at night and feed and change. And it was like,
Yeah.
man, this is terrible.
Yeah, we were pretty lucky. My daughter, she started sleeping through the night pretty early, and
Okay,
so
nice,
we've been blessed for
nice,
sure.
nice, for
But
sure.
it's like they're gone are those days of being able to sleep in, especially on the weekends. You gotta be if they're up, you're up. You gotta manage.
Yeah,
So
no, you're absolutely right about that. I guess at 18 months, are they doing a lot of walking or not a lot of walking? I would imagine at 18 months, or is it?
she's walking now. Yep,
Okay,
she just started walking about a month ago, and
nice,
so
nice.
she's active. So she's getting into every and anything at this stage.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, man. And shit,
But
I guess at 6 years old, I don't know. I guess I'm one of them guys. Even going back to the Kevin Hart special where he was talking about kind of just listening out for things. If it's like it's too quiet, then you know something is going on.
yeah,
I kind of
yeah.
listen out for things. If it's too quiet, I go check, hey, what's going on, and just make sure she's not burning down the
Yeah.
house.
It's like funny, you got that parents, you have that extra kind of like sixth sense.
Yep,
You always know. You
yep.
don't have to see them, but you always know something's happening. Like, oh, I think she's getting into something. There's just like you got that spidey sense. This is tickles.
No, absolutely, for sure, for sure. So I just kind of going through with Jada Brands, and again, knowing that COO and you're kind of spearheading this thing along with your partner Khasha there. I guess I typically like to start with just giving an explanation. I'm not sure if I can pull up the website here, but I'm not sure if you have kind of some seasonings with you just to see if you can explain to the audience what it is that Jada Brands has or provides to consumers as it relates to like healthy seasonings. And then you also guys have I think the chicken mix as well, which is that's pretty interesting. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have multiple different products within our SKUs. We have our line of seasonings, the all-purpose seasonings. And we started out with our original. That was kind of the OG classic that kind of launched the business. And we eventually branched out into multiple different flavor options. We have a reduced sodium version of the original. We have a barbecue. We have a red pepper. We have a lime as well. And then we came out with a pretty innovative new product, which was our turmeric salt. All the products are turmeric based, so the great way to get turmeric into your daily diet. But the turmeric one has a little higher concentration of turmeric, really great proportions, great for anti-inflammatory, great for healing digestion, all that good stuff. But the really simple ingredients: garlic powder, onion powder, and turmeric. So really great way to be able to complement pretty much any dish. So you can use it from veggies to meats and everything in between. That was kind of what launched our product. And then eventually we came out with our line of plant-based chicken. So it's a really simple mix. It's a dry mix. You just add water and oil and you can shape it into any chicken item that you want. You can make it into patties, into nuggets, into ground mix. And so that one's pretty versatile as well. And so that's all encompassed under our Jada Brands.
Nice, nice, nice. So I guess starting with maybe the flagship or the product that got things kicked off, it was a chicken salt, correct?
Yeah.
And,
That was
and,
the
and
original chicken salt.
so in this and just kind of preparing for this thing, the good thing, one of the good things that I kind of like doing these shows because I get a chance to learn a lot, just not only from you guys as the inventors, as the business owners, but just from a societal standpoint. I never knew chicken salt was a big thing in Australia. And
Yeah.
then go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, that's how everything started. My business partner, Khasha, He actually grew up in Australia. And so he was very familiar with chicken salt, and that was the seasoning of choice that they used in their home. You go to any restaurant, you ask for salt, pepper, you ask for pepper, chicken salt. Like that was a staple there. And so when he came to the States, he wasn't able to find it. And wasn't until years later, after he became a dermatologist and he was trying to find ways to be able to help his patients eat healthier with their diets, he was like, oh, we should be able to bring a healthier version of chicken salt to the US market. And that's pretty much how everything snowballed from there.
So, and from my understanding, you guys met in college. So at Washington University, I guess back in the day. So at that point in time, I know, him being a dermatologist and you having an environmental and civil engineering degree and kind of doing that. Did you guys, or did he kind of come to you with this idea back in college to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, let's do it? I guess, how did that kind of connection form? And maybe the reason I'm asking is because I think it's, I know college a lot of times get ragged on, and maybe rightfully so. But a lot of my best friends that I still keep in contact with today and kind of do different business partnerships with, they're from college. And so I do think in terms of being intentional in college and kind of identifying the right people to kind of hang out with or kind of build friendships or relationships with can be a good thing going forward after college and kind of even long after college. But how did you guys kind of hook up in college?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. A lot of my best friends that I have now are friends that I met in college. I only pretty much have a handful of friends from like high school and beyond that I still keep in touch with. But a lot of my good, solid friends to this day are friends I made in college. And yeah, we met in college at the University of Washington in Seattle. And in college, we're always like, hey, if we end up coming up with a business idea, like we should go into a business together. And so we kind of made like a kind of low-key pact around that time. And we obviously kept in touch and stayed friends after college. And so when he presented the idea of chicken salt to me, I was like, oh yeah, let's run with this, because we'd always been kind of searching for something that we can collaborate on, because we always had that entrepreneurial spirit. And so we always knew like, hey, eventually when the right idea comes about, we should take advantage of it. And so the timing was right. I had moved down to Los Angeles and he was in Miami at the time. And so like, hey, we didn't have any experience or background in the food industry at all. But we knew we were passionate about taking and excelling something to the next level and doing something creative. And so from there, we just started slanging seasonings.
Right. I like that. And again, another good thing that I love for the audience to hear, because a lot of times people think that you have to be an expert or you have to have this kind of background already into the business that you're going in. And oftentimes that's not the case. Like you said, you have the background in civil environmental engineering. He is a doctor, your partner is a doctor, and you guys are kind of coming together in this health, in a food industry, in a seasoning industry in particular, and kind of doing something that you guys, I guess, have no experience in up to this point. Was that maybe overwhelming at the beginning, or it seems like you guys both are just kind of grinders and doers anyway? So was it like, oh no, we're just going to figure it out as we go and get educated on it and kind of learn and as we go, and not being overwhelmed? Because again, I would imagine that a lot of people, as they're starting something, especially if it's not in a field that they have experience in, it can be very overwhelming at the beginning. Did you guys experience that or not so much?
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. And because the idea itself, the ideation of coming up with the product itself was probably the easy part. It was when we started really figuring out, hey, how do we actually scale this and grow this? That's when it got complicated, because we didn't really know the inner workings of how the food business worked, and food business is very much different than a lot of other areas, much more different than tech, a lot more different than any other areas where you sell products in, because there's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of kind of old school traditional elements of being able to navigate and getting your product and your name, your brand out there that we just weren't aware of, But going into it, we had the hustle mentality of like, hey, we have an idea. We are going to figure out the parts and pieces of how to make this and produce it and kind of elevate and brand this product. But we didn't really know the inner workings of that. And so once we started getting into the thick of it and getting into the weeds of really trying to scale and grow the business, that's when it became overwhelming, because we're like, oh, wow, there's a lot that we don't know. And we had to get mentors and support and other people to really kind of showcase the ropes and show, hey, this is the protocols you need to go through. These are the people you need to talk to. This is the way you need to navigate this. So it kind of went through, a little roller coaster of different momentums, but eventually, we prevailed, we pulled through. And I think for any entrepreneur, that's endurance consistency is always a key, right? You're always going to go through difficult times. You're always going to be told no, or, go through, low points, and it's how you persevere during those times is going to really shape how your outcome is going to be.
No, I like that. I like that. You talked about just kind of some protocols of learning the do's and the don'ts in the food industry. I guess what was one of the biggest things that you didn't know coming into it that you were maybe surprised, like, what, we got to do this, or this is done this way? Does anything come to the top of the mind?
Yeah, I think for us, it's really when we started to navigate distribution for our product that we were like, oh, wow, this is how people navigate this. Because in food, obviously one of the, people do it a lot of different ways, right? You can go through the e-commerce and website, which is one element we do. But if you're trying to get your product into stores, your Ralph's, your Fred Meyer's, your Safeways, Kroger, all these different, big retail stores, there's so much protocol as far as you got to talk to buyers. You got to have buyers that talk to reps and reps that talk to these other people. There's so many different layers that you have to go through. And then people that are testing your product, all these different things, finding shelf space, finding similar products that they can be able to, put you in the aisle by. There's so many different elements that are completely just out of your control. And, we came to the point where we literally, the only way to navigate it for us was we had to make cold calls to every possible buyer, every rep that we can get in contact with. And so we just kind of used some of our resources, found lists of buyers, and we were literally for months, we just literally call on the phone, cold call. Hey, we have this product. This is what we're trying to do. And, we got a lot of no's, we got a lot of non-responses, but we figured out that, hey, this is how people navigate through this. They use their relationships with people in the industry to be able to get onto the shelves. And so that was a big part that we had no idea coming in, that we just kind of had to grind our way through.
No, and that's interesting. So I guess how was that? Because I understand about cold calling, and I guess the toll that can take, and like you said, the plethora of no's that you get. Did that ultimately kind of lead to something else, or because this, I don't want to say it's easier, but it definitely it's more less barrier to entry just to sell someone on your website. But then now you're fighting, okay, who knows about us? Who's going to go to our website? I guess you can do a little bit better with Amazon, although I'm sure that has a number of different challenges. But was this always to, I guess, in addition to maybe Amazon, have your own e-commerce platform on your website, was a big thing to get this into the stores at some point? And if so, how is that going, I guess, at this point in time?
Yeah. Well, I think for us going into it, that was always we always looked at that as like the peak of success with the product, right? Because you're thinking, okay, food, what's the best way for our brand, our food product to get buzz and get out there? Is to be in every grocery store in the country, right? Because we all go grocery shopping, we all buy foods at the grocery store, and we see things in the aisle, and we're like, okay, they must be doing well because they're on the shelf at a major grocery store. So that was our perspective coming in. We realized along the route that that's not necessarily true success when it comes to food, because people could have shelf space and all these things, but there's so many costs, behind the scenes costs that we don't realize, as far as shelving costs and a lot of backdoor costs that you have to go through with the grocers and everything. A lot of companies lose money with their product being on the shelves, especially if you're not moving at a certain rate, right? You obviously have certain products that are staples, right, that have been in industry for generations that people know about, and they just go and they just buy without even thinking. But when you're a new product, you have to either have some sort of notoriety, some buzz, something that's bringing people to the grocery store specifically to go after your product. And so we didn't really have that mindset coming in. We just thought, oh, once we're in the store, like that's it. That's where people are obviously going to buy our product, but that wasn't the case. We even had certain locations where we got removed from the shelves because our product wasn't moving, but we thought, oh, just because we got in the store, that was the peak of our success for whatever store location that was. And so it took us some time to kind of realize, okay, there's a lot of other obviously branding aspects that go into it, getting to the right retailer, getting to the right market, all these different avenues as far as like sales for advertising, all these different added costs that are in there that we have to go through in order for our product to really be able to sell. And so that was probably the most difficult part about that. And then obviously, when we started that was back in 2014, 2015 when we started the business. And so, yes, there were e-commerce opportunities. Obviously, Amazon was still bubbling at that time, but we didn't necessarily look at the e-commerce as kind of the height of what we could achieve. But now, obviously, so many brands are doing well on their own platforms, and you obviously have social media, and you can be able to sell things on TikTok and Instagram and beyond, YouTube ads, all these different things. And so the e-commerce has kind of been where we've been able to transition a lot more into the Amazon and our website as well too, to be able to get buyers in there and generate revenue from that ecosystem. And so it's definitely transformed over the years for sure.
So would you say that the e-commerce is probably a bigger part of the sales or the revenue compared to maybe just being on the shelf of a grocery store?
Yeah, for us, definitely it is. And I don't say that for every brand. Every brand is going to be different.
Right.
Obviously, for us, we're in a very tough market because we have a line of seasonings, and so we're competing with companies that have been like McCormick's, that have been doing seasonings from the beginning of time, basically, right? And so you have these kind of grandfather brands that people already know, and they go to the store and that's what they're getting, right? Your Lowry's, your staple brands that are already people are familiar with. And so coming in as a new product, there's elements that we have to really be able to pitch, and we have to be able to do it a little bit differently. And so for us, being able to take advantage of social media has been an awesome tool, because from there we're able to build up community, and then we did a lot of on the ground selling as well too, going to vegan festivals, vegan markets, smaller mom and pop shops where people are looking for high quality specialty type products as well too. And so there's definitely a different market for our brand as well. And we've been able to kind of leverage, obviously, some other opportunities, Shark Tank and beyond that, I'm sure we'll get to, that has helped us be able to navigate these different platforms a little differently as well, too.
No, and again, I guess this is interesting because, like, typically it seems like compared to maybe 20 or 30 years ago, where people, like you said, obviously people who still would buy the grandfather or the known brands with the McCormick and the Lowry's and things like that. But it seems like these days people are getting a lot more health conscious, or at least a decent size of the population, as far as, okay, we're not just picking up this seasoning and putting it into our basket, but we're going to turn around. And I kind of find myself doing that even with seasonings, where I'm turning around, I'm looking, okay, what's the ingredients, what's in this
label,
thing?
yep.
And if it's anything that kind of I don't want to have, I'll put it back and try to do something that's a little bit more organic or a little bit more as a healthier option. So is that something that you guys would benefit from? Because again, there's two things that you guys have that I love. Hey, if you say chicken is something, hey, I feel like God put chicken on this earth for me, so I love chicken. So you put chicken in the name of something, and then it's a healthier option. It's like you got me at that point. But as far as like the healthier, like the health conscious and a healthier ingredients, is that something that has helped you guys out, or is it kind of tough to be able to quantify that?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's been our number one angle, is the health aspect of our product. Because like I said, chicken salt is a staple in Australia, right? It's been used there for generations. But their product in Australia is actually made with dehydrated chicken fat, chicken stock, has MSG in it. And like you said, people are looking for healthier options. People are looking for options with lower sodium intake, clean ingredients as well too. And so from the very beginning, the origins of our product was a healthier version of chicken salt. And not only were we the first chicken salt in the US, but we were the first chicken salt to have clean ingredients, very simple ingredients. And so we knew that that was the wave that customers were going towards, was trying to find healthier products, healthier way to eat, be able to incorporate things like turmeric into the daily diets. Obviously, when we started doing the plant-based chicken, that was going towards, obviously vegans, but not just vegans and plant-based consumers, but also people generally that also eat meat, but also just want to find options that are cleaner and that are unique, and also bring some new different elements to the table. Ironically, even though both of our products are, labeled as vegan products, a lot of our market isn't just vegan consumers. We have people that are just looking for healthier alternatives to the foods that are available for them. And so that's what both of our products are able to provide, is just healthier alternatives. And so we're able to navigate that channel by preaching that, obviously, in our branding and our advertising, but also be able to now hit that demographic that is just looking for different options. And I think we're at this great place right now in just the market in general with any type of product, people are just looking for alternatives. People want to kind of go away from the norm. People are now, recognizing what we're putting into our bodies. And for us, that's where our passion lies, because both myself and Khasha, we're both into fitness and health. He's a dermatologist. I have an active lifestyle. I've had, all sorts of different, issues with diabetes in my family and high blood pressure and all these different things. And so finding ways to be able to support people that are looking for healthier options, to me, that's the epitome of everything that we want to do with our product. And so that's always front and center in everything that we do, is how do we provide healthier options for consumers?
No, and I love that. I love everything you just said. And especially it seems like within the African-American community, where I guess diabetes, and like I grew up in a mom, she probably the best cooker I've ever by far the best cooker that I've ever ate from. And but again, we understand that she's using the salts and the stuff that's going to raise your high blood pressure potentially. And again, it seems like you said, one of the things that you guys wanted to do and you guys did was actually remove what the MSG, which I'm assuming that's another fancy word for the salt that's in these seasonings.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So and that's good. So I just even from, I guess, just talk to the audience now, like, hey, to the extent that you guys want to definitely try something that has no salt in there, that still gives you that seasoning as if it did have salt in there, definitely check it out.
And our product, and that's not that our product doesn't have salt, because we still have sea salt in our product. Right. But obviously, like, things like MSG, high fructose corn syrup, those are type of things that people are starting. A lot of overly processed things that people are trying to stay away from. And so, we have natural sea salt in ours that we use for the salt intake. And so it's much better for you than even like, iodized salt and different things like that. And so that's kind of our angle, is being able to provide these more all natural ingredients.
No, yeah. And I appreciate you clarifying that. Yeah. Cause I'm still eating sea salt and things like that, but it's more of a natural things as opposed to, I guess, the processed stuff that we're used to eating. I do have a question. I'm not sure the Australian contingent, or I'm not sure, I guess, what would you call an Australian kind of based person. But I typically do these Shark Tank breakdown videos where I'm talking about like the pitch on Shark Tank. And one of the pitches, it was a Filipino guy. He had, I forget what it was called, Manila or something like that, but it was like a seasoning. And man, that video ended up doing like over 70,000 views on YouTube. And a lot of the comments were, hey, Filipinos support Filipinos. And with the contingent of Filipinos here in the US, that it seems like they would kind of support this guy's stuff and what he's doing. Because again, it seems like it was a similar, I'm not sure if his was a healthier option, but it was similar in that it was something that it was big in the Philippines that he kind of brought here, and maybe he did some variation to it. Do you guys see or maybe get a lot of people who are from Australia that here are in the US that kind of supporting a brand, supporting chicken salt? Chicken salt, because they want that from when they're back home, but like you said, it just wasn't here. And now you guys being the first chicken salt seasoning brand here in the US, do you guys get a lot of support, a lot of sales from that contingent?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, my business partner Khasha, he grew up in Australia. And so when he was here, he was always looking for chicken salt and wasn't able to find it. And that's how the whole product came to be. And so we get actually a lot of Australians that reach out to us and saying, oh, wow, we thought we had to just import this from back home or get family to bring it for us whenever we wanted to get that familiar chicken salt flavor. And they're always shocked when they're able to find some chicken salt here in the US. And it's funny because I'm always running into Australians all the time. And that's always whenever I meet somebody from Australia, I always ask, hey, do you love chicken salt? And they're like, how do you know about chicken salt? And I was like, well, let me tell you, right? And to go into the whole story, and they're always shocked and they're always excited to go and try the product. And so that's been awesome part of having that, obviously the Australian markets. But for us, it's also, you're able to supply that market of those people that need it. And just like you mentioned with, Filipino community and everything like that, it's always amazing when you're able to support, your culture, your background, your heritage in the States here, right? Because, I'm half Nigerian, half Cameroonian. And so, and so I always love when I'm able to get some authentic West African cuisine, here. And so there's always that nostalgia aspect when you're able to bring your traditional home foods, to your new home, right? And so So we're able to hit that aspect, but we're also now able to now bring a new culture and food tradition that people that are here in the US don't know about. We're now able to bring that into their homes as well too. And so they're able to try something that's unique and authentic to an Australian market. And so it works both ways. We're able to support both and bring some recognition to something authentic.
Nice. And I think you had mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I definitely want to at least hone in for a second on the turmeric salt. I think it is because it, in addition to it kind of being another line of seasoning, it seems like that actually has some health benefits as opposed to, I mean, as far as being anti-inflammatory, good for your bones and joints, and great for your heart and digestion, and a lot of different things of that. So can you maybe talk about that a little bit and how that came to be? Because it seemed like that's kind of a little bit more, I don't want to say from scratch, but that you guys kind of worked hard on to kind of develop and actually bring, I guess, get out to the people.
Yeah. So we had, like I said, we had our OG line of chicken salt seasonings and, the additional flavors of that. And we're always thinking ahead. We're always thinking, okay, how can we continue to diversify our product line, be able to now bring some intrigue and something new that we're able to hit those consumers that are looking for healthy options, but also be able to provide something new to the market. And so our turmeric salt was actually the first product of its kind to the market. And it started because we were looking at all these other products that people were consuming, right? Turmeric tea is huge, for people that do turmeric teas. People add turmeric to all sorts of different drinks that they have. People take turmeric pills, turmeric capsules to help with their bones and joints and all these different things. And my business partner Khasha saw that firsthand, as a dermatologist, working in the health fields and everything, noticing all these different trends of things that people are trying. And we already used turmeric within our original chicken salt. And so our thought process was, hey, people are looking for ways to cook with turmeric. Turmeric's been around for generations in all sorts of different cultures across the globe. People have been using turmeric for its known healing properties and anti-inflammatory properties and all these different things. And so we're like, hey, we already have turmeric in our product. We already kind of connected some of these suppliers. What if we find a way to incorporate more turmeric into people's seasonings? Because another area that we found was, turmeric in itself, people have been cooking with for generations in cultures all around the world. But it's has a very bitter taste to it. Sometimes if you don't, if you're not, good in the kitchen, you have to find ways to be able to not make your food taste so bitter with things like that. So you have to know how to cook, right? You have to get all the elements into it. And so with our purpose of our product from the beginning, having an all-purpose seasoning was always to be able to make things easy. We always preach, hey, anybody can be a home chef now with our products, right? You don't have to get all your individual garlic powder, onion powder. You have everything you need all in one. And so we're like, hey, turmeric is now a great way to be able to incorporate that. We already know people are looking for turmeric products. Why don't we add a higher proportion of turmeric into this, but make it a good proportion to where it has a great flavor? People can feel like they're getting a great turmeric intake, but now they're also able to season all their dishes with one seasoning bottle as well too, and make that process a lot easier. And so that was kind of our thought process going into it. How do we now support that market that's looking for turmeric, and how do we continue to make their meals and their cooking process much simpler as well?
Nice. And again, like I said, one of those things that I love about kind of getting a chance to talk to different people with different business owners such as yourself, just because I never knew what turmeric was beforehand. And I'm not sure if that was something that I should be proud of or not, but it seems like just kind of learning about that has been a pretty good for me. So I guess going on to like the IP side of things, and this is maybe a little bit different because this is not like, okay, you're selling a product, you want to get a patent on it or whatever. And again, you guys, from my understanding, have an actual trademark on the term Jada. From me looking up, that's correct, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, so then I guess as it relates to the seasoning, a lot of people don't know about not trademark, but trade secrets. So is that something that maybe kind of you guys talked to an attorney about, or was it kind of maybe not so much? Because again, essentially, like for example, the Coca-Cola formula, everybody knows that the Coca-Cola formula exists out there, but nobody knows, I guess, what it is. You see a lot of, imitator Coca-Cola or cola products that are on the market, but it just doesn't maybe taste the same as Coca-Cola. And again, that's because Coca-Cola has kept that ingredient or that kind of chemical structure or whatever, I guess it's called, as a trade secret. Is that something that you guys maybe thought about at all, or it was just like, hey, we're coming out with these seasoning lines. Obviously, we're not going to tell people our secret sauce. We're going to protect it. Or did you guys kind of maybe take a little bit more steps as far as talking to an attorney to say, hey, what do we need to protect this particular thing. And then the attorney would have said maybe, okay, no, I would recommend you keep it as a trade secret, and to keep it as a trade secret, you have to take, say, reasonable measures to protect it and things like that. So
Yeah.
did that, I guess, how did that develop, if at all?
Yeah, no, we definitely did early on. That was an area that also was something that was new for us trying to navigate was, okay, how do we now protect this product? Because, we obviously knew, I mean, even for us, right, we took a product that was already a staple in Australia and we made a healthier version of it, right? And so we always knew, like, from the beginning, hey, there's always a possibility of somebody else coming into this market right now and taking our idea and making it, and it could possibly be a bigger brand that has a bigger name than us, which is ultimately, things have happened with other brands. But early on, we're like, okay, how do we now protect our ingredients? And so there are different ways to be able to do it. It's a little more difficult in food, especially now, because you have to be obviously you have to be transparent, and rightfully so, with your ingredients and what's going into your product. And so and for us, that's great, because that's an easy way for us to be able to hit those consumers that are looking for healthy options, because people can see right there on our label what's in our product and what isn't, right? And so, but there are a lot of different trade secrets for things, the ways that you can kind of navigate around it so that people necessarily don't go and direct copy your product. But like I said, it's a little more difficult in food because you have to put things out there, right? And so I know in some products, you can simply put spices when you talk about ingredients that can kind of incorporate some different elements that may not necessarily be required by FDA to specifically state, because they either have known allergens or different things like that. So there are things like that where people can kind of navigate through. But that was something we had kind of front and center, was like, okay, how do we protect our product? And for us, obviously we have the Jada element trademarked, but for us, it was more so around how do we can pitch our product in a way that showcases, like, hey, we're the first to do this, and we're the first to market to be able to have this. So we had the OG chicken salt to the US market. But our first thought was, like, how do we expand this line and bring other flavors? Because there are no other chicken salt product that's out there has any additional flavor options. And so getting the red pepper, the lime, the barbecue, and the reduced sodium as extended property within our line, that was a great way for us to be able to not only diversify, but to also distinguish ourselves from other products that are out there on the market that are similar. Because now people can be like, okay, these are the chicken salt guys. This is the chicken salt product. Because they're the only ones that have these different options. And then when we came out with the turmeric salt, that was the first in the market. And so we could always state that, hey, we were the first in the market. We've had different things like, over the year, after we blew up on Shark Tank, like Trader Joe's came out with, a chicken, salt type of product, they branded chicken salt, but it was very similar to ours, and they're pitching that. And, obviously that's a private company, anybody can go and make their own seasonings, right? You can't protect, a seasoning per se. But people always now be like, hey, we know chicken salt is the original. These are the OG guys are the first to bring it to the US. And so those are areas where, as a brand, from the branding perspective, that you can always kind of distinguish your own brand from others that are out there.
Got you. So then, I guess, kind of moving on, and I know you mentioned the Shark Tank, and I think this was a good segue. What was the thought process to say, hey, let's go on Shark Tank? Because again, I watched the episode. It was a pretty interesting episode. You guys were making money before that, and then even kind of that year, I think you guys had told the Sharks that we plan on doing $500,000 in revenue. So you guys were making money. Was it? And as we all find out now, that it's a number of different reasons to go on Shark Tank, whether it's publicity, whether it's making a deal, whether it's in the experience of the sharks. Did you guys have something in mind when you guys went on Shark Tank? And to the extent that you guys did you guys kind of achieve that by being on the show, or accomplish the reason you guys set out to go on Shark Tank while being on the show?
Yeah. For us, Shark Tank was always a big target, because, we obviously grew up watching Shark Tank and love Shark Tank. And as entrepreneurs with a product, I think any entrepreneur that's out there that has an idea, especially on a product idea, a service idea, Shark Tank seems like that's the hierarchy, right? That's where everybody's goal is, to be able to have that type of public visibility and free publicity ultimately around your product and your brand and your idea. And so that was always a big goal for us. But we did, going into it early, we didn't really know exactly how to navigate that. We're like, oh, okay, that's just by luck you get on Shark Tank, right? Like the chances of getting on Shark Tank are very slim.
Right.
We ended up finding out about a casting call that they were having a little last minute. We had already missed the one that they had locally in the area that we're in Los Angeles. And this last casting call was happening in Kentucky. And it was like literally the next day when we found out about it. And so I was like, hey, this is, we're big into, hey, shoot your shot. Like you never know what's gonna happen, right? Like you gotta shoot your shot. And so that's what we've done in every element of our business, is we just take chances, right? And so I hopped on a red-eye flight that next morning and got to Louisville and stood in line for 10 hours. They had a huge long audition line where people were coming in and you sign up and you get a chance to pitch 1 minute to a producer that's there. And then from there, that was kind of the first round of selections. And so that was literally their last casting call that they had. And I took a red-eye flight that day, got there.
Was it you or was it your partner as well?
No, just me. I was with my partner. He had like surgery in the morning or something like that. He was doing surgery in the morning, so he couldn't make it. And so I just went out there solo and stood out there, had all my, had my product with me, had my little banner that I could stand behind me and everything, and did a quick little 1 minute sales pitch to the producer. And we were lucky enough, literally like 3 months later, we got a call saying we made it to the next round. And then there was a bunch of obviously multiple rounds after that of fact checking, going through your numbers, meeting you, interviewing, scrubbing through your social, everything. There was a huge vetting process. And we ultimately, that process was pretty crazy for us because we got the go ahead at the end of 2019. And then we're getting ready to go into filming, and then obviously the pandemic happened. And so we were like devastated, right? We were like, oh no, this destroyed everything. Our hopes are done. And then it ended up working out. They ended up doing a whole bubble season for that episode. And so they powered through it and shot. And so we were lucky enough to be in that pandemic bubble season for that season of Shark Tank. And so, but yeah, the goal for that is obviously the visibility. Number one is great. As everybody sees on Shark Tank, you learn about these new products, and it's, depending on your business, sometimes getting the deal isn't always always the peak of that, right? Some people, the visibility enough, look at some of the biggest companies that have had success. The Ring, right? That makes the first person that made the Ring camera. He didn't get a deal from the Sharks, right? But his business took off after that, and now they're, billion-dollar company, right? And so the visibility is key. You're able to reach a demographic. You're able to reach people that are looking for that product. People get to know you as the entrepreneurs and your story and your background. And so a lot of times people get investments outside of Shark Tank if they don't get a deal with the Sharks. But obviously getting a deal with the Sharks, if you get the right shark and you're able to leverage that, it's an amazing growth opportunity either way for your business. As long as your idea is solid, it's a win-win, right? If you come in there with a solid product. And so for us, we had a solid base. Our numbers were right. We had a great product, and we were lucky enough that we got a deal on the show as well too. And so we were able to leverage that, and that elevated obviously our business to another level.
No, and just I've interviewed a number of the Shark Tank participants who've been on the show, and even those who have struck deals. And obviously, you kind of find out that just because something, I guess, is a handshake or a deal on TV, it doesn't maybe make it to the finish line. Now, I know you guys did the deal with Barbara. Now, did that one make it to the finish line, or was it just for one reason or another, it just kind of maybe it didn't happen?
Yeah, no, you're right. Like that's everything that you see on the show is always a soft deal. It's a handshake deal, right? And then there's a whole nother multiple month process that happens after the show of more vetting, going through numbers, kind of figuring out, okay, what other deals did they make? What do they want to prioritize? All these different things. And so for a million different reasons, people can the Sharks can either choose to continue on and give you the investment or not. We didn't continue our investment with Barbara after the show, and nothing negative or nothing, no animosity or anything like that. she just did for where we were at in our business. It totally made sense for the type of product that we had. She didn't see, her getting a return on that investment in the time frame that she wanted. And so, but for us, it worked out great because, we got a deal that, it wasn't necessarily like the specific deal that we wanted. But we got amazing support from her and her team. She provided us with a great marketing person that helped support our business in that beginning stages. Provided us with some really good contacts and networks. And so we still attribute a lot of our growth and success to what she was able to provide for us, even though the deals numbers wise didn't, pan out behind the scenes. But we're able to use that and leverage her support of our product to be able to continue to grow and kind of scale at our own pace as well too, and be in full control of everything that we wanted to do post show.
And I think you had talked about it earlier, where it almost can be a blessing in disguise that maybe things don't kind of pan out, even though it's kind of a soft deal, just because, okay, you guys can keep the equity. Oftentimes, maybe other investors or other opportunities come about after the show that kind of helps you out, such that maybe you don't need the deal. So in the fact that she still kind of put you in contact with a marketing maybe team or whatnot to help you on that side of things, seems like you guys still won and got a lot of kind of support from her and just kind of just being on the show, which is cool. I guess the interesting thing, which I know we were talking offline about you doing a number of things in terms of having the hip hop science that you're doing. Then obviously your partner, him being a dermatologist, actual doctor who's doing surgeries and things like that, and just really having like both of you got like 2 full-time jobs. And it seems like the Sharks, maybe at least a few of them, at least on the show, just maybe saying how they didn't think that would be helpful as far as kind of back and forth like that. I guess, how do you feel about that? I guess to the current day, or did that kind of not play with your mind, but did you kind of think about that more after the show? If you're like, man, I forget what they're doing, we're going to still kind of chug along as we've been doing, as we've been doing all this time. So I guess, how did that with the Sharks kind of give you that feedback as far as kind of maybe focus on maybe one thing as opposed to many different things? Did that, like I said, did you just kind of disregard that, or did you at least maybe take it into consideration after the show?
Yeah, for us, that's always been something that we've always heard. But like I said, from early on, we've always been hustle mentality, always having our hands into multiple different things. And so I know no different, right? For me, I'm always running multiple businesses, doing this, going here. People are always asking me like, how are you able to do all these different things? I'm like, I don't even look at them as different things. I'm just doing what I love doing, which is just going after things and chasing after what I'm passionate about doing, and putting my heart and my energy into it, and so for us, that wasn't anything new. That wasn't any type of new feedback that we got. We just looked at it and like, okay, they just clearly don't know how we're built. We're just built,
Sure.
And I think any like strong entrepreneur that's also knows that also got their hands into multiple things. There's always, your capabilities and your ability to balance and juggle multiple different things and allocate your time as needed. And so we still do that to this day with our business. We're still doing multiple things. My business partner, he has another business venture he's doing with some health products as well too. And so it's like, for us, that's natural, is to to have our hands into different things. And people are always going to question your ability to do things like that at an early scale. But if you look at any entrepreneur, you look at any billionaire out there, do they have one business? Yep. Does Elon Musk only run SpaceX or only run Tesla? No, he's got multiple different businesses. Any other billionaire that you look at is doing multiple different things and running multiple different companies. We don't look at them as crazy when they're doing that because they've reached a certain level. But at those early stages, if you not have that mindset early on that, hey, I'm going to take on these seemingly impossible tasks and elevate and scale this business to new heights and continue to bring more in and continue to grow and elevate, like that's always an entrepreneurial mindset. And some people are just built differently that have that goal. And we've always had that kind of billionaire mindset from the beginning. It's like, hey, this is how we're going to go after something. We're going to put our time and energy into it, and we're going to do it with our utmost ability.
And that's interesting because even with them saying it, the Sharks have multiple business and things going on. So it's not like they're telling you to focus and they're focusing. It's like, they have multiple things.
And that's always kind of a trend too. Like people always like, naysayers, not necessarily even naysayers, but people are always going to question and doubt when you're starting something new, right? And going from the beginning stages, because obviously people have gone through that, and all the sharks, they have all their success. They've gone through that and they put their work and the time in, but your mindset should never change. Your mindset coming into any type of business is like, hey, even if this fails, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to grow and elevate something else. I'm going to spark some new ideas. I'm going to continue to stay curious, continue to ask new questions, and continue to grow and diversify, bring the right people around me, grow my team, all these different things. You're always thinking with that mindset. And so that's always been our vision from the get-go. And so nothing ever changed from that point. When we started our business, we're like, hey, we're going to do multiple things. We're going to generate more income from another business that we're going to leverage this from, so many other things. And so I think you've come into that mindset and you know yourself. If that's true to you at the core, then run with it, because that's how you're built, and that's how you're going to navigate to get to the success you need to be at.
No, yeah, I like that. And oftentimes, even entrepreneurs, they end up often selling that business and kind of going on to something else anyway. So, like you said, just kind of stay in that mind frame of, okay, it's this, and then maybe it'd be something else, or at some point we're going to pivot, or something. At some point we're going to do something else. So, kind of have that mindset going into it is, I just think that's kind of how entrepreneurs are wired. So I guess you had talked about maybe some challenges as far as being with the, I guess with in terms of the food, being able to kind of having to go through multiple people to get a certain thing done. And then you also talked about, obviously, one of the benefits of kind of being on Shark Tank and getting a brand out there. I guess, are those two one of the biggest challenge and a breakthrough of the business, or is it maybe something else that you can share with the audience as far as one of the biggest hurdles of the business, as well as one of the biggest breakthroughs of the business?
Yeah. Well, I'll say one of the biggest hurdles for us, like I mentioned, the distribution channel was obviously a big one. But even before we had done a deal with the Sharks, we had gotten into business with another individual at the time, that made all these promises like, hey, we're going to get your product in this areas. We're going to do these. And we put our full trust into it, invested a lot of money into kind of going into business with them. And in hindsight, there's so many elements that we should have probably vetted and double checked before making that other deal that we didn't. And so we learned a lot through that process, just as entrepreneurs, and what to think about when going into business with somebody else. And as far as providing investment and all these different things, that actually really helped us when we eventually were in our negotiations after Shark Tank, because now we're able to understand, hey, these are the things that are priorities to us, and as far as keeping certain equities within our business, how we want to navigate and grow our business, the pace that we want to grow at, the market that we want to target, all these different things that before we just kind of put to the side, because we were just thinking, oh, revenue, go after whatever's going to bring in more revenue. And if you go into that mindset and you don't stay rooted to who you truly are with your business and what your goals are, you're going to kind of run haywire and put yourself in probably difficult situations. And so it was a reminder to come back to our roots and really understand why we created this business, what the purpose was. And so we had to go through that and lose a lot of money in order to learn that lesson, but it definitely helped us out in the long run. As far as breakthroughs, obviously Shark Tank was, obviously a huge breakthrough in itself, just because it's Shark Tank. But even before that, I think what really helped us position our business to another level is like I told you before, we were cold calling, right, all over the place, just trying to get in the doors. But another thing that we did that was also a little kind of guerrilla marketing style is we were just sending products to places. Like we'd find whatever restaurants, whatever shows, television programs, whatever, and we would just send products to people, right, in hopes that, hey, maybe somebody's going to get their hands on this and be like, oh, I wonder what this is, And we send out a product that ended up getting into the hands of a big chef on the Food Network, and she did a recipe with our seasoning,
for the chips, for the potato chips, right? Was that for the potato chips? I was going to say, I saw that. That was cool.
That was Valerie Bertinelli, and she had a big show on the Food Network, and she did a recipe with our seasoning, making some homemade potato chips, and that's actually what really helped get our business running, because we were kind of on the guerrilla ground side of stuff, going to little festivals and everything like that. When that aired, like we literally everything shut down. We could not we could not keep up with the demand for our product.
Really?
That's what we said, ended up having to get a manufacturer and all these different things, because everything started scaling to another level with the product. We had so much visibility, and then that show did a rerun like multiple times throughout, over a course of like 3 years, and got big buzz every single time that it aired. And so so that was also a reminder to us, and also the entrepreneurs that are out there listening, like there's so many avenues and ways to be able to promote yourself and put yourself out there, but sometimes you just got to take a risk. Like I said, shoot your shot. You never know what's going to happen.
Hey, I like that. I like that. So then I guess maybe as we kind of start to wind this thing down, can you talk about the chick mix? 'Cause I'm very interested in that product. I'm assuming that is something that you guys are still doing with the chick mix, which is like maybe a vegan chicken patty, so to speak, that you're, with the seasoning, just adding water and oil to it and kind of shape it the way you want. And I guess how did maybe that come about? Because that's something that's very interesting to me, and I actually kind of want to try that.
Yeah, the development of that product was very interesting, because it was very last minute, a little unexpected. We actually didn't start going to R&D on that product until we got the go ahead that we were getting on Shark Tank.
Oh, okay.
Which was in early in 2020. Once we started, or towards the end of 2019, actually, when we started getting realization, like, this is a real possibility that we're going to get on Shark Tank, because we identified at that point, we didn't think we would be able to position ourselves well enough with just our seasonings on the show to be able to get a deal, right? Our thought was, we're going to need something a little more innovative, something a little more unique and different, that has ability to scale at kind of an exponential level that people wouldn't expect. And so we had always been kind of pondering about new things to add to our line. And since we were already doing chicken salt, and at that time we were also negotiating with people at Beyond Meats about helping bring their line of chicken back. And so we had been going through multiple meetings with their R&D team about possibly using our seasoning as a way to be able to complement some of their plant-based chicken line. And so there's already that kind of bubbling. And so we're like, hey, rather than be able to launch somebody else's product, why don't we just make our own chicken product and have that also as a unique element to our brand. And so we started going to R&D with the plant-based chicken mix. Like I mentioned, it's a dry mix. It's a wheat protein, pea protein, and you can just add water and oil and mix it up, and you can shape it into any chicken items you want. You can throw it on the grill, you can throw it in the air fryer, throw it on the stovetop. And that was a very unique and versatile product, because it fell in line with everything else that our brand was about. All-purpose seasonings, very simple. You just need one thing, right? And so for us, it was like, hey, very simple. Form this into whatever substance that you want, and cook it on any platform that you want, with a great flavor profile. And then obviously it complements well with our seasonings too. You can use our seasonings to throw into that mix as well to give it whatever flavor profile. And so that's how the idea of the plant-based chicken came to be, was because we knew we had a possibility of getting on the show, and we wanted to diversify our line. And we're really glad we did it, because that was definitely what sparked the Shark's interest, was having that plant-based chicken, because one, it was new, it was innovative, it fed with where consumers were going right now, which was more towards plant-based meat options, and so it definitely built some buzz that we needed for our product. And so that's for we kind of still put that kind of crazy, like 6-month quick R&D process as what really helped support our business to that next level. And it was actually really interesting, because we didn't actually we got into R&D so quick that we didn't really have much time to go through a lot of like testing and all these things. And so when the Sharks had that that was one of the first early times, like we had kind of tested independently within ourselves, but we hadn't gone through any trials or anything like that. So we're just like, hey, y'all gonna try this? We hope you like and it ended up working out great. So
and I was going to say, man, just kind of watching that episode, it seemed like everybody liked it. And Lori, she really liked it. She was like, man, if this was, she had mentioned on the show, like, hey, if this was a little further along in development, I would come in with you guys. But everybody, whether it was Damon, John, whoever, they was like, hey, man, this chicken mix, this kind of chicken patty here is pretty good.
If we had already been deep into selling that product, and we had some numbers that we could have shown, for how well that was moving. That would have been that we could have upped the deal to a whole nother level for sure. But like I said, like that was literally an R&D mode. And we told them that we're like, hey, we just created this, right? We know that this is gonna hit, but we don't have any numbers to show on this. So all the numbers were from our seasonings, right? And so, but it definitely helped with our cachet at least, and I think that's what Barbara believed in when she made the verbal deal with us.
So is that maybe one of the more popular items that you guys sell a lot of as far as the chicken mix?
Chicken mix definitely is popular. Our seasoning is still our bread and butter because that's the OG. People still know us from that, and obviously we do distribution to like restaurants and large scale orders and different things like that. And so that's still our that's always going to be flowing. The plant-based chicken it's unique because the industry is always kind of changing as far as what people are looking for when it comes to plant-based meat options. But we're strategically placed in a good position with that, especially on the e-commerce side where that is still moving and doing well with our 2 different SKUs of that.
Nice. And then I guess maybe the last question I always try to ask every guest that I bring on this question, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs? And what I mean when I say aspiring entrepreneurs, somebody who they maybe want to get off into the game and they maybe have some ideas, they have some products, they have maybe I guess maybe a food option that they want to kind of bring out, but they're kind of jump rope, they're double dutch, and they're like, okay, should I do it? Should I not? And I guess to try to maybe push them over the edge to kind of get them into the game. What I guess aspiring advice would you give someone like that?
Yeah, I would say the best advice is kind of what we did. I kind of alluded to this in the story of us kind of going into a bad deal with an investor at the time. Was know your why. Stay true to the purpose of your business, because obviously we're all trying to get money, right? Like this at the end of the day, that's the goal of entrepreneur. Like you're trying to build wealth, you're trying to bring something new to the table and grow and scale this business to another level. But what's going to keep you rooted and what's going to direct you to the right position you need to be is knowing your foundation, knowing what you're built on, knowing your purpose, and staying true to that and voicing that out to your market, voicing that out to people that are looking for your product, buying your product. Always stay dedicated and true to what you're about. And so that to me, that's big because and it really crosses over to all aspects of life, right? Fundamentally staying true to who you are, your values, your morals, what you appreciate, what you respect, all these different things, because that's your foundation. That's where your backbone of everything that you are pitching to people that you don't know that are out there, they're looking at you. That's what they're going to see. And so that's helped us out in so many aspects of our business. One, because it's helped us streamline. It's helped us to be able to easily say no to certain things because we know, hey, this isn't going to position us to where we want to be or where we started out saying that we wanted to be, right? So we're able to now dissect and be able to understand the routes that we're taking and the opportunities that are coming our way. It's just kind of when you put a positive mindset out there, right? You're going to get positivity back to you as well. So if you stay true to your roots and stay true to what you are supporting, for us, it was always about providing healthier options for consumers. And being able to provide a product that could be able to make home cooking much easier. And so encouraging healthier home cooking, that's always been our slogan, right? And so everything stays true to those values. And so I would say for any aspiring entrepreneur that's out there, that's got an idea, got a business, like know your foundation, know your why, and build everything on that. And everything else that you need, opportunities, the money, the revenue, everything will come pouring your way if you stay true to who you are and what your goals are.
No, and I like that. Because especially it seems like as you kind of go through this thing, like you said, man, it's kind of more of a sine wave where you have the ups and downs. It's not like a linear thing where you're just kind of on this steady incline all the time. And I would imagine, hey, if you're kind of not kind of true to who you are, you can start to maybe bend in terms of the values to maybe try to get a quick dollar or try to get more money, which is not always the best thing in the long term for the business. So definitely staying true to yourself and your why in terms of why you're doing this. Definitely, I definitely like that because it'll go a long way with you, not only the business that you're doing, but any other thing that you're doing in life and any other business. So I guess maybe the last thing, how can people maybe want to purchase the product and then just kind of following you, whether it's on social media or following what you guys are doing at Jada Brands?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way is to go to our website, www.jadabrands.com. That's JADA brands.com. You can be able to see a whole line of products that we have there available. So you can find us there on the website. We're also big on Amazon. We sell a lot of our products on our Amazon site as well too, which is also one of our big bread and butters. Those are definitely two places. And then if you are looking for us on socials, just look up at Jada Brands on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook. You can stay updated with, cool recipes that we always love to share, different collaborations that we were able to do with a lot of different brands as well too. And then, for those that are interested, like I said, I do a lot of different things outside of running Jada Brands. I have my hip hop science platform, really, which is the whole goal of that platform is to make science cool, right? Is showcase, especially with representation in STEM, getting more Black and brown voices, minority voices into the STEM fields. I'm a big advocate for that, and so I make fun, educational science videos for all ages. And so you can find that at Hip Hop Science Show on all platforms as well.
Nice. And yeah, we'll put those in the description when the video comes out. Yeah, I wanted to kind of get more off into the hip hop side, but I wanted to be respectful of your time, and I know we're coming up on an hour here, so yeah, I wasn't able to get off into that as much as I would have liked. But no, definitely thanks again for giving us some time here, audience. Hopefully, you guys are taking you're taking notes with your pen and your pads, because he was definitely dropping some jewels, and they've been through it. He again talked about starting this thing in 2014, and it's 2024, so he's been doing this thing for 10 years, which if you're still doing something for 10 years, you've seen a fair amount of stuff, the ups and the downs, and to the extent that you still decide to chug along, that means that means something. So hopefully you guys kind of really took to heart the things that he was saying, and hopefully to the extent that you're an aspiring entrepreneur, hopefully we kind of got you closer to that edge to kind of get into the game. So until next time on the next episode of Everything Intellectual Property, we are out.